Princess Lysera of the Nebulan Star Kingdom had never felt uncertainty like this before. She had crossed galaxies at the speed of thought, her ship slicing through the darkness with its silver wings reflecting starlight. The mission was simple, or so she thought: observe Earth, learn its inhabitants, and if opportunity allowed, initiate contact with one human who had caught the attention of her people through a series of encrypted messages. Yet now, as she hovered above a quiet town in North America, she found herself hesitating, her glowing eyes scanning the cityscape below. This human, Ethan, a researcher at a local observatory, was unlike any other human she had studied. He seemed both fragile and resilient, quiet yet observant, with a mind that danced through logic and imagination with equal grace. Lysera's advisors back home had warned her that humans were unpredictable, emotional, and often dismissive of interstellar beings. But she had not anticipated this feeling, a mixture of frustration and curiosity, as if the very soul of this human had drawn her in. She activated her cloaking device, descending to the outskirts of the town, her ship camouflaging perfectly against the night. Her hand hovered over the comlink to Earth, trembling slightly, though she rarely experienced fear. She had rehearsed her first words countless times in the mirror of her ship, practicing the human tongue until it sounded almost natural. Yet when the moment arrived, she froze, and the words faltered. "Greetings, human, I am Lysera," she whispered, almost inaudible. The human, sensing something unusual in the night air, looked up, his eyes widening as a streak of iridescent light passed overhead. He did not run, did not scream, he simply watched, and that, she realized, was more terrifying than any rejection she could imagine. Finally she spoke, this time louder. "Do not fear, I come in peace. I mean no harm to you or your kind." Ethan tilted his head, curiosity flickering in his gaze. "Are you an alien?" he asked, his voice calm but incredulous. Lysera floated down to the garden, shimmering in her radiant form. "Yes, I am Lysera, Princess of Nebulan," she said, her voice melodious yet commanding. And yet, even as she revealed herself fully, she felt a pang of unease, for the human seemed hesitant, his expression unreadable. I don't know what to say," Ethan murmured, stepping back slightly. This is a lot to take in." Lysera's heart, if humans could call it that, pounded. "Why do you look at me with doubt?" she asked, her voice trembling with emotion. Ethan shook his head. "I don't mean to be rude, it's just, this is insane." The princess blinked, her alien mind struggling to process. This was the first contact she had made after decades of preparation, and yet the human, the one she was meant to connect with, seemed reluctant. She decided to wait, floating silently in the moonlight as Ethan retreated into his house, leaving her alone with the night sky. And as she watched him vanish behind the door, she whispered to herself, "Why does the human keep rejecting me?" Over the next several days, Lysera made repeated attempts to communicate. Each time she approached Ethan in a different form, sometimes as a shimmering light in his bedroom, sometimes projecting herself through holographic messages. Each time Ethan would react differently, sometimes startled, sometimes curious, and sometimes evasive. Lysera recorded every encounter, analyzing his reactions with meticulous care, trying to understand the puzzle of his mind. She had traveled light years, overcome political tensions in her kingdom, and navigated the complex ethics of interstellar contact. Yet this human's behavior confounded her more than any alien council dispute ever could. One evening, she decided to appear as a human, adopting a form that could blend in among humans, her hair cascading down like sunlight, her eyes a shade of deep violet that humans rarely saw. Ethan was sitting at a cafe, sipping his tea and scribbling notes into a journal, when she approached. "Hello again," she said softly, her human voice smooth and comforting. Ethan looked up, his brow furrowing. "You again," he said, unsure whether to smile or flee. Lysera smiled, though it felt bittersweet. "I only wish to understand, to communicate." He looked away. I just can't, he whispered, his fingers tapping nervously on the table. Can't what? She pressed gently, floating slightly above the ground, as if gravity had little hold on her. Can't accept this, he admitted finally, his eyes filled with conflicting emotions. Lysera's heart ached at his words, yet she refused to retreat. Then tell me, human, why do you reject me? Ethan hesitated, biting his lip. It's not you, it's everything, it's the impossible nature of this, of us. Lysera's glowing form dimmed slightly, her mind racing. Impossible. We can learn, adapt, even love, she said with quiet desperation. He shook his head. Love with an alien, with someone from another world. It's not natural, not normal. The princess floated closer, her hand reaching out. Why do humans fear the unknown so much? I am not here to harm, only to connect. Ethan looked at her hand, trembling. It's not fear, it's disbelief. It's trying to make sense of something that doesn't fit in my reality. Lysera's eyes shimmered with tears she had learned to produce to mimic humans. Then teach me, human, teach me how to exist in your reality. Ethan swallowed, silent for a long moment, before whispering, maybe that's the hardest part. And Lysera realized then that understanding the human heart would take more than words, more than gestures. It would take patience, courage, and the willingness to face rejection again and again. The days turned into weeks, and Lysera's attempts to bridge the gap became increasingly desperate. She sent him messages in dreams, in visions, even through subtle manipulations of the wind and light. Yet every time, Ethan misinterpreted her intentions, thinking she was playing tricks, or worse, threatening his mind. One night, she followed him to the observatory, watching him through the telescope as he studied the stars. He was brilliant, his mind reaching for the cosmos even as he doubted her existence. Lysera decided to reveal herself fully, stepping into the observatory as a radiant being, her light reflecting off every surface. Ethan jumped back, dropping his notebook. What are you doing here?" he shouted, his voice a mixture of panic and awe. "I am here to speak with you honestly," she said, her voice steady but tinged with emotion. He shook his head. "I told you I can't deal with this." Lysera floated closer, her form calming the room. "Do you not see? I am not your enemy, human. I wish only to connect with you." Ethan's eyes welled with tears. "But it's too much, too unreal." Lysera sighed, a sound that resonated like music. "If I must, I will wait, as long as it takes." For the first time, Ethan looked at her without fear, only confusion. "Wait for what?" he asked, his voice breaking. "Wait for understanding, for trust, for acceptance," she replied, her eyes never leaving his. He nodded slowly, though his heart was still hesitant. I don't know if I can ever." "And that is why you keep rejecting me," Lysera whispered, her voice full of both sorrow and determination. I don't mean to," Ethan said, his hands shaking. "Then let me show you, human, that love, connection, and trust can exist beyond the stars," she promised. One evening, as the sun set in golden hues, Lysera finally decided to reveal the truth about herself, her people, and the reason she had been drawn to him. "You must understand, human, that I was chosen for this mission because of you," she began, her voice gentle. Ethan blinked. "Chosen for me?" "Yes, your mind, your curiosity, your courage, they are rare even among your species," she said, her light dimming to a soft glow. He shook his head, still not fully comprehending. "But why me? I'm just a human." "You are more than that, Ethan," she said, stepping closer. "Your heart is brave, your mind open, and your soul exceptional." Ethan swallowed hard, feeling a mixture of fear, awe, and something else he couldn't name. Lysera reached out, her fingers brushing his cheek lightly. "I have traveled galaxies, faced dangers you cannot imagine, all for the chance to know you." He felt a warmth spread through him, a connection deeper than any he had felt before, and for the first time, he understood the sincerity behind her attempts. I didn't realize," he murmured, his voice breaking. I know, Lysera said softly, and that is why I waited, and why I will continue to wait if I must. For the first time, Ethan allowed himself to see her not as a threat, but as a being with feelings, hopes, and desires. And in that moment, a bridge formed between them, fragile but undeniable. Weeks passed, and the bond between Lysera and Ethan grew stronger. He began to trust her, to converse openly, to share his world and his thoughts. She, in turn, taught him about Nebulan, about the wonders of her galaxy, about the complexity of her life and duties. One night, under a sky full of stars, Ethan finally took her hand. I think I understand now, he whispered. Lysera smiled, her eyes sparkling with relief. Then tell me, human, why did you keep rejecting me? He looked at her, his gaze steady. Because I was afraid of the impossible, afraid of what I didn't understand, afraid of losing myself in something I thought I couldn't accept. She nodded, and now I see that love and connection don't follow rules, boundaries, or worlds. They simply exist, he said, and finally she felt his acceptance, the answer she had waited for. Lysera's heart swelled, and for the first time, she allowed herself to believe that perhaps humans and aliens could love despite everything. And as they stood there, hand in hand, gazing at the infinite cosmos above, she whispered, "Then the impossible is only impossible until we choose to embrace it." For Lysera, the journey had not been about conquest or duty, but about understanding, patience, and the courage to face rejection. And in Ethan's eyes, she finally found the answer she had demanded, the truth she had sought across galaxies, the affirmation that some connections are meant to defy reason and endure beyond worlds. Even after acceptance, the life that Lysera and Ethan now shared was far from ordinary. Each day brought new challenges, not merely from the vast differences between human and alien, but from the reality of interstellar politics, cosmic dangers, and the fragile nature of trust. Lysera's people, the Nebulan Star Kingdom, had observed her actions closely, and while many supported her choice, there were factions that viewed her attachment to a human as reckless, even dangerous. One morning, as the twin suns of Nebulan cast golden rays across her chamber, Lysera received an urgent transmission from the council. "Princess Lysera," the voice of High Chancellor Veyron was grave, "your attachment to a human is under scrutiny, not merely by our council, but by the allied star systems who question your judgment." Lysera's violet eyes narrowed, the warmth of her room suddenly cold with tension. "I understand the concerns, Chancellor, but my connection with Ethan is genuine and necessary." "Necessary?" Veyron's tone carried incredulity. "Lysera, do you comprehend the implications? An interspecies bond could destabilize centuries of diplomacy, risk our security, and endanger you both." Lysera paused, her mind racing, yet she remained resolute. "I comprehend, Chancellor, and I am willing to face these consequences, for it is not merely desire driving this connection, but understanding, trust, and love." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving her alone with her thoughts, the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. She turned to Ethan, who had been quietly observing her from the balcony, his hand brushing against hers, grounding her. "We knew this wouldn't be simple," he said softly, "but are you ready for what comes next?" Lysera took a deep breath, her glowing form dimming slightly in contemplation. "I must be, Ethan, for our bond is not just personal, it is a statement, a bridge between worlds that could either inspire peace or invite conflict." The very next day, the Nebulan Council arranged a meeting for Lysera and Ethan on a neutral space station orbiting the planet Calithar, a hub for interstellar diplomacy. Ethan's hands were clammy as they floated in the zero-gravity chamber, observing beings from countless planets, their forms strange and beautiful, some crystalline, some gaseous, some with multiple limbs and eyes that shimmered like molten silver. "This is overwhelming," he murmured, clinging to Lysera's hand, "and they're all looking at us." Lysera's voice was steady, reassuring. "Let them look, Ethan. We are here to show that our bond is real, that it transcends appearances, species, and preconceived notions. The council chamber was vast, a sphere of shimmering light that made their own forms seem insignificant. High Chancellor Veyron rose to address the assembly, his voice carrying authority that resonated even in the chamber's vacuum-like acoustics. Esteemed members, Princess Lysera has brought forth a human, Ethan Cole, to demonstrate the feasibility of interspecies cooperation and understanding. A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber, some curious, some skeptical, some openly hostile. Lysera floated forward, her aura radiant, her voice clear and melodic. I understand your skepticism, respected counselors, but this human has shown courage, compassion, and insight beyond what many beings achieve in a lifetime. He has taught me patience, humility, and the value of understanding perspectives vastly different from my own. I ask that you judge not by species or tradition, but by the depth of connection and sincerity that exists between us. Ethan stepped forward cautiously, his human voice surprisingly strong despite his nervousness. I know I'm not from your world, and I may never fully understand all your ways, but I promise my intentions are genuine. I respect Princess Lysera, her people, and the weight of her responsibilities, and I wish only to learn, to share, and to stand together in trust. A tense silence followed, punctuated by the distant hum of starship engines as representatives studied them, eyes flicking from Lysera's radiant form to Ethan's human fragility. Then came the first test. An envoy from the planet Zytheron, known for their strict adherence to genetic purity, rose to speak, their crystalline voice echoing through the chamber. Princess, we cannot accept this union. The potential contamination of cultural and genetic integrity is too high, and permitting such a bond sets a dangerous precedent for all interstellar treaties. Lysera's eyes glimmered with determination, and yet, Zytheron envoy, if understanding and trust can be shared across species, does it not also set a precedent for peace, collaboration, and unity? The envoy's form quivered with irritation. Idealism is no shield against reality, Princess. Ethan swallowed, gripping Lysera's hand. Maybe reality can be reshaped, not ignored, he said softly, and Lysera's heart swelled at his bravery. The council deliberated for hours, questioning, testing, and probing their bond, yet neither Lysera nor Ethan wavered. Finally, the vote was called, and by the narrowest margin, the council granted conditional acceptance, allowing their relationship to exist under observation. Relieved but aware of the fragility of their victory, Lysera and Ethan returned to Earth, knowing their love was now both a triumph and a test. Back on Earth, the challenges continued, for humans themselves struggled with accepting Lysera's presence. Neighbors whispered, friends questioned, media speculated, yet Ethan remained steadfast, introducing Lysera to human culture, sharing meals, laughter, and quiet moments under the stars. Lysera, in turn, revealed the wonders of Nebulon, teaching Ethan how to navigate zero gravity, how to sense cosmic energy, and even showing him glimpses of faster-than-light travel. One night, as they floated together in the Nebulon simulator, a room that recreated the sensation of being among the stars, Ethan looked at Lysera, eyes wide with wonder. I still can't believe I get to be here, with you, seeing all this. Lysera smiled, her form shimmering softly, and I cannot believe I found someone willing to cross worlds, who accepts me without fear. Ethan, together, we are redefining what is possible. Yet the universe had more trials in store, for news arrived that a rogue faction from a neighboring system sought to exploit the controversy of their bond. They viewed Lysera's attachment as weakness, a threat to the balance of power, and planned to kidnap Ethan to destabilize the Nebulon kingdom. Lysera and Ethan prepared, combining human ingenuity with alien technology, crafting defenses, and alerting loyal Nebulon allies. The night of the attack, their small observatory became the epicenter of interstellar conflict. Rogue ships appeared, dark and jagged, cutting through the sky like predators. Lysera transformed, radiating energy to protect the observatory, while Ethan, using knowledge he had gained of alien systems, coordinated countermeasures. Blasts of light and energy lit the night, creating a surreal battlefield that blurred the line between Earth and the cosmos. Amid the chaos, Ethan risked himself to shield Lysera from a stray plasma bolt, and she realized in that moment that the human she had so long struggled to understand was capable of bravery and love that transcended species. Together, they repelled the attackers, their unity and trust stronger than any weapon. As silence returned, Lysera held Ethan close. "Do you see now, human? Together, we are unstoppable, not because we are the same, but because we complement each other perfectly." Ethan smiled, exhausted but alive. "I see it now, Lysera, and I wouldn't trade this for anything in the universe." The events of that night became legendary, a testament to what could be achieved when beings from different worlds chose understanding over fear, trust over doubt, and love over prejudice. The Nebulan Council, now witnessing the courage and strength of their bond, granted full recognition, and word of their story spread across galaxies, inspiring hope and dialogue among species previously divided by mistrust. And on Earth, humanity slowly adapted, learning to accept Lysera not as an alien invader, but as a bridge between worlds, and Ethan, not as merely human, but as a pioneer of interstellar empathy. Lysera, reflecting on their journey, realized that the question she had once demanded an answer to, why the human kept rejecting her, had transformed into something far greater. It was not about rejection or acceptance alone, but about the journey, the growth, and the courage to challenge the impossible. Together, they looked up at the night sky, knowing their love was no longer a secret, no longer a test, but a force capable of reshaping worlds. And in the silence between stars, they understood fully. The universe was vast, filled with danger and wonder, yet also with the potential for connection, trust, and love that defied boundaries. For Lysera and Ethan, the impossible had become their reality, and nothing, not fear, politics, or prejudice, could ever undo the bond forged across galaxies.